Hi everyone, welcome back to Lisa's Love and Light. How are you guys doing? Hopefully, I hope everyone had a great weekend and that these messages are really helping you and that you are self-caring, taking care of you. That's so important, guys. Make sure, let me bring this slide up so you guys can see me better. Um, Make sure that you're doing this on a daily basis, that you are self-caring, because that's so important to take care of yourself daily. Even if it's an hour, 2 hours, just time to yourself. I promise you, as you do that persistently and consistently, you're going to feel better and you're going to have a better perspective of things in life, how to handle things, and you're going to feel better. And as you feel better, you do better, guys. So that is so important. I took off Friday and I uploaded one of you guys' favorite videos because it has so many views. And I uploaded that again, Pour Into Yourself, because I needed to rest. Last week was a stressful week every day, and I just needed a time out. So instead of not showing up at all, what I decided to do is to just upload one of the videos. Perhaps someone who never saw the video had a chance to watch it. And I'm here today, guys, a little bit earlier, which I'm happy about, because coming on at the end of the day, it's like it takes a lot more energy. But right now, I feel good. I feel better as I rest and took care of myself. Make sure you guys are doing that you're taking care of you, because, as you do that, you're going to really, really be glad that you did. So keep in mind, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a social worker or a counselor, just someone who's going through a lot of hell, stress, trials, and tribulations, and I found some creative ways to get through it, so that I don't succumb to these trials and tribulations. And what I do here is share my real experiences that I've gone through with you guys here for those who are new. And how I overcame. And perhaps some of you who are listening may be going through some of the things I experienced. And perhaps you'll hear something that I say that might help you and be beneficial with your own situation. So that's what we do here. And also keep in mind that we uplift here. There's a lot of toxicity, a lot of judgment, a lot of negativity in this world today, as you guys see, and it seems to be getting worse and worse, like it's the normal way. Don't allow yourself to fall into that, because it will affect your healing and your growth. Try to take in as little as possible, and that's what I do. We do need to know what's going on, but don't allow yourself to be glued to it and experience fear, anxiety from everything that's going on. Put yourself first. And with that being said, the topic of discussion today is the importance of self-care. It's so important, as I just said, to take care of you. And sometimes when you focus on yourself, people feel some kind of way. I know, I was putting, for a very long time, the first half of my life, I was being so subservient to people, family situations and relationships. But as I look back, guys, especially, when my therapist had me to do that pro and con list, as I look back at all those things, I look and I see that what was I giving to me? What was I doing for me? It seemed like everything in my life was being neglected because I was so focused on what everybody else needed that I forgot about me. And that's what I've learned so far with doing weekly therapy. The pro and the con list helped so much. In the beginning, me and my therapist would just stare at each other, and I would look at the time and, okay, it's time to go. This is over with, because I wasn't used to, the therapy, but I knew it was necessary for my mental health. And then, when I started doing that list, I started to see that I was overgiving, and people were expecting that. Not only were they expecting this, the folks who were taking advantage, they felt entitled. Yeah, you got to do A, B, C, and D because I need D, E, F, and G. And I started, back then, okay, well, this is family, this is a relationship, this is, my child, or whatever it is. And I start to feel obligated to do these things, even though a lot of times I didn't want to do these things, but, obligation. What I learned with that list is I don't have to feel obligated because these folks are grown, including my own child. And it just got to be where people not only underestimated me, but devalue and didn't appreciate me. They felt like I had to do, and once I did that pro and con list, it changed my life forever because I saw in that list as my therapist, and I went over the list as I created it with each situation, that the question was, what were you doing for yourself? Yeah, my stuff is on a back burner over here because I'm running, jumping, skipping, and hopping for all these people who are unappreciative and felt like they were entitled to my time. Whatever I had going on, they wanted a piece of it. They deserved it. That's what they felt, and entitled. And all of this felt like walls closing in, guys. And then as I start to look, I'm like, what are these folks giving to me? And as I looked at the list, I wasn't getting anything. In fact, my stuff was crumbling because I was so focused on obligation. But in reality, guys, this was not my obligation to do this. And, a lot of times, especially family, oh, we share DNA, I'm your sibling or cousin or this or that, and try to make you feel like you're responsible for whatever hell or whatever negativity that they created in your life. They want to bring their toxicity served on a hot silver platter to your table for you to fix, for you to eat from. And once I really started to look at that, I started to see things in a different perspective. What about me? And it's like they felt like I was here to take care of them. Forget about my needs and what I wanted. And it even got to the point where, and I'm going to say this way because we are on YouTube, a relative wanted me, and I'm going to say it just like that, to buy a house so that I live upstairs, they live downstairs, and if they need me to babysit or do this or that, I'm supposed to be only available for that. Forget about my life, forget about what I want. And I started to really look at that list, and then I said, you know what, the hell with this. I'm not doing any of this anymore. And when me and my therapist had that thorough conversation about the list, and he just shook his head, set boundaries. And this is why I said, but I had to get to that point to look at it that way, because I was just doing what I was taught all my life, and like I said, I grew up in a cult-like religious organization due to no decision of my own. I was brought into that when I was 6 years old, and the women were taught you ought to be subservient, whatever other folks want, and this is how it is. Put your stuff on a back burner. And and that's how I thought for a long time, a broken way of thinking. And then to be told that this is what God wanted me to do. And I'm like, well, why would God want me to forget myself? And for a long time when I had so many questions about things, it's like, just do what we tell you to do. You don't need to be asking all these questions. People would get bent out of shape, twisted up, uncomfortable, because I would ask questions. Well, why? And no one really had any answers, so they started to feel uncomfortable. And I started to learn slowly as I went. Like 2020 was a turning point in my life. I talk about that a lot because that's when things start to change. Because when I needed something and I was down and out during that time frame, deaths and, you know, and a shutdown and this and that and etc. Oh well, nobody was around. And when I would call or text or email, no response. And I saw for the first time with that list that I'm just being taken advantage of, being used like a doormat, like an ATM machine. And I cried and for a while with my therapist talking about it. And then I got to the point where I realized these people didn't give a damn. And so as I grew stronger and did the work to self-care and take care of myself, I said, I choose me. I don't choose anybody else anymore. And when people, I got into some confrontation with, you know, someone who I thought was a friend, it's like, I choose me. I don't want to deal with this anymore. They were under the impression that they had me chokehold like this, that they didn't believe me when I said I'm done with this. Yeah, sit down, shut up, whatever it is. Until my actions start to prove that I'm done with this. You know, the cell phone started ringing off the hook, messages. I got to the point, like I did that video, I think on Thursday, The Sound of Silence. I learned how to do that effectively because I was not giving to anybody anymore. The first half of my life, I did that. So now it's time to take care of me, choose myself, and self-care. When you self-care, guys, and choose yourself, it enhances your mental health because all the things I just described will affect your mental health like no tomorrow. Because you're hopping, skipping, jumping, and doing things for people who are unappreciative and who feel like they're entitled to your time and everything else. And what are you getting from it? You know, you're just being used and abused and treated like a doormat. You know, when you choose yourself and start doing self-care on a daily basis, it improves your self-esteem. And one of the things I did learn from that pro and con list, that my self-esteem was in the ground. And I had to build that back up, and it took a long time because of the way I was brought up and the teachings and etc. Not only had I had to do the work to improve my self-esteem, but I had to change my broken mindset to see that this isn't it, guys. This is not it. And it's not working for my benefit, and I do matter, and you do matter just like the next person. And I had to flip the switch on all that, cut the cord. And people thought I was playing, joking, just upset. No, I chose me. And as I improved my self-esteem, I felt better. As I did the work, I start to feel better. When you feel better, guys, you do better. Self-care helps you to effectively handle challenges and things that come your way. Because none of this was easy, because a lot of folks that were used to me doing this were holding on like a chokehold. No, you're not going anywhere. They were trying to, it's like force your foot into a closing door. You know, they tried to put their foot in it and whatever. And then what I started to do is I prayed to God to ask him to help me to be strong, to move forward. I got up one day and said to myself, no more. I'm not going back and forth, in and out, round and about with these folks. I said what I said. I set those boundaries. They're not listening. So cut off, block, and delete. And when they continue with messages, phone calls, the sound of silence. Because no one can engage you and ignite a fire within an argument if you're not engaging in it. It takes two. Going back and forth to get the last word and etc. and so forth. We're not doing that. I am giving you my undivided silence. And people don't think there's weakness in silence. There's a lot of power in that, because you're showing the person that you are not playing about your self-care and about your mental health. Because without your mental health, without that, you can't do anything for yourself or anybody else. And you must love yourself, guys, and know that what your self-worth is. Because when you don't love yourself, you're like a robot being subservient to the needs and wants of other people. And many times these people don't care about what you need. They just want to take, use you up. and I had to learn that I was just as important. It didn't matter what they were saying or not saying. I gave my undivided silence to the situation. And for example, I got all these phone calls last week. Every day, phone ringing off the hook with numbers that I don't recognize. And it could be a possibility that the people from the past is trying to reach out from unknown numbers. I don't answer unknown numbers. If it's something important from a number I don't recognize, then a person will leave a message. They're not leaving messages, just blowing it up, boom, 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 and I just ignore it. Like I said, I'm very, very serious, and I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm very into my self-care and my health, mental and physical health. And the rest is it's not my problem anymore. Remember I used a metaphor about carrying a monkey on your back, tons of bricks? I was carrying other people's burdens. And while I left my own stuff on the table, I'm not doing that anymore. It feels good to put myself first. It feels good to take care of myself through self-care, to take care of my mental and physical health. And as I was saying, I had to change that broken way of thinking to realize that I was just as important. And it took time. Once I built up my self-esteem, I started to look at things from a different perspective. As I say, people, situations, and circumstances come into our life for a reason, a season, a lifetime, or a lesson. Unlearned lessons will repeat itself over and over and over again until we learn. And each time that lesson rolls back around, it's worse than ever. And then when it comes again, it's worse than the time before, and etc. until you learn it. And once I learned that lesson, I closed that door, and God has another door over here open for me as I trust Him and talk to Him, and ask Him to help me. Because there's days I don't feel like doing anything. And, and it happens, guys. You probably have that too. But the very next day, get up and keep going. Because we are human. We get tired. Things happen. But the next day, get up and keep going. Never let anyone keep you down. And minimize the toxicity around you. You can do that by setting boundaries. Let people know that you're not taking in the gossip. Because, if you're in a situation where you're in an office environment or around family, it's holiday time, and they want to gossip about A, B, C, and D, bring the toxicity, don't allow yourself to engage in it. The negativity, the hate, whatever it is, because these things will affect your mental and physical health and your growth, and you want to stay on a path to taking care of you and not get wrapped up in this negativity or drama, which can create stress and anxiety in your life and also affect your mental health. Ignore the noise around you. Participating in these things can ruin your reputation and cause high levels of stress, all types of negative things that you don't want. And if you've been doing the work to heal, you don't want to regress back into things that are not healthy for you, that affect your mental and physical health. It took me a long time to learn this lesson because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I had a problem saying no to people. And today, I don't have that problem anymore as I worked on it. And I will tell people, no, I don't have to be nasty about it or anything, and just tell them why. Today, I have conversations. The old Lisa would just disappear and cry. The new version of myself, I'm going to have a conversation no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it is, because it's necessary. Sometimes someone can rub you the wrong way and you want to express it. So you may tell person A, B, C, and D. I don't really do that anymore. I go to the source. Like, for example, I had a situation today, a repetitive situation that I had to address. And I had to find a way to do it because the situation really kind of pissed me off. And I had to address it with this person. And then I had to say, we can't do this like this anymore because this is affecting my time. I'm busy, etc., so forth. So I made it clear if something changes with A, B, C, and D, because I had an appointment and a person couldn't keep it or whatever, and you have to call me, you have to let me know. You can't have me driving all the way over here when you should have called me and canceled before you knew I was coming. So here's what we're going to do. Here's my card again with my number, and if you can't make this appointment we have, you're going to call me ahead of time instead of allowing me to drive here, because that's wasting my time, and my time is valuable. And when I did it like that, the person shook their head but was kind of shocked. People think for some reason because I speak a certain way that they can do, no, we're not doing that. We're going to do it like this, or I'm pulling back my energy, my time, and taking it someplace else. That's it. I don't have to get out of character, blah, blah, etc. We're just going to try this once more. And if it continues, then I'm pulling back my time and everything. And, there's other clients and etc. And that's the way I do that. I don't have time for the drama, the negativity, and I always take into consideration that there may be some things going on. When I find out it's not, what it is, and then I'm going to address it head on. Like I do the elephant in a room, which I use a metaphor to describe pain. Before I would just ignore it because it was too painful. But what I do today, I address that elephant in the room because this is going to grow bigger and bigger. It's not enough room for the elephant in me, so something has to give, right? When I grew up, I was taught no matter how traumatic things were, what happens in this house stays in this house. I think I've spoke about this in several videos. But what happens in this house, if it stays in this house, then nobody heals, nobody grow and evolve. They're carrying toxicity, luggage, and baggage everywhere where they go. And it affects other people that come into their life. So it's better to clean it up. And you do that one step at a time, one day at a time. Start in a place of therapy, because that's where I started. And then all these other creative ways of taking care of myself started after. And do a pro and con list. Try that out, guys, because that might help you as well. And I had to, like I said, change my broken mindset to see things from a different perspective. And as I did that, I was able to heal, grow, and evolve. And I was able to close doors of repeating lessons that were unlearned. As I learned them, I closed the doors and moved on. And God has blessed me as I trust Him and ask Him to help me, because this is not a one-man show. I couldn't do this without God. When you feel better, you do better. And to show up here to help others through my personal experiences and about talking about how I became an overcomer instead of succumbing to these trials and tribulations. It is better to be at a place of peace, guys, than to be broken down into pieces. That's the lesson today. The lesson. I'm sorry. That's the message today is what I meant to say. Share this video with others because people need to be uplifted today, and try to minimize the toxicity in your life by setting boundaries so that you can focus on yourself. Thank you for being here today, guys. I will be back with a new message tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And look at some of the links that I have at the end of this video. Perhaps some of the things that are there might help you also with your healing journey. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.